These shows deserve better and I'm gonna need to fix it right now. So we've all watched shows that could have been miles better if the screenwriters had just changed a couple of things. This is something that bugs me, especially as a French woman who likes to tear apart every single aspect of a show. So today I wanted to rewrite shows I think deserve better. Gonna be honest though, even shows I love deserve some rewriting in some parts. So there's so many shows to go through. So if this video is well received, I will definitely make this a series, and you can already suggest the shows you want me to rewrite in the comments. But there's also shows that are unfixable in my eyes without changing everything about them, like So Much in Love, Together With Me The Next Chapter, and Ugly Duckling, Pretty Girl. But today we're only gonna work on the shows that just deserve a little bit more love to work a little better. Let's go. So I think we can all agree that My Girl and Your Gown was a huge disappointment. Personally, it had so much potential for me, like enemies to friends to lovers. Yes. But instead what it did was barely give any development at all to the main ship and be boring as hell. Now, a lot of people said that the high school portion of the show was too long, and I personally disagree. I do think the show should have been 6 episodes in high school and 6 episodes in university, split right down the middle. But I do like the high school setting because that's where the foundations of It Pie's relationship are set out. So for me, the setting is really not the core issue of this series. But it's true the fact that It Pie's relationship isn't developed nearly enough and their feelings aren't shown enough. I feel like this show tried to mix being a slice of life and a BL, which is totally fine. I love these kinds of shows. But here even the characters and friendships weren't developed enough to carry the whole show either. So how to fix it? Firstly, they need to put folk in high school and not develop Pure and Wan as much as they did. Even though, yes, it would kind of mess up the order of events in the show, it would definitely be for the best because in the show when folk shows up, most people, including me, were already invested in Pure Wan's relationship. Because these two definitely had some love story vibes. By bringing folk since the beginning, first of all, it makes the viewer more invested in him as a character, but it also makes more people invested in his ship with Pure, because they haven't been shipping Pure with Wan for 7 episodes straight beforehand. Then for It Pie, though they did a good job showing Pie's feelings for it at the beginning of the show, its feelings truly felt non-existent throughout the show. So they should have shown their feelings a lot more, but also given them more shippy moments. And it definitely doesn't have to be that over-the-top fan service stuff, but like just build up the actual relationship between your two main characters. Also, the first episode where It and Pure are assholes needs to be written better because that was just so cruel, and then they changed out of nowhere the next episode. Oh, and I'm sorry, but Pie kinda sucks, not gonna lie. I was ready to stand him because I love disaster gays with glasses, but he legit has no personality whatsoever and he's so fucking boring that it showed up in Win Pa-win's acting of him. Which I think Win is a pretty solid actor, so that just goes to show that the writing and directing was just not up to par. So I'm extremely conflicted about Daughters. For the first 17 episodes, I was genuinely addicted to this show and couldn't stop thinking about it. I was certain it would become an all-time favorite, but nope. The last 7 episodes completely ruined it for me. Which is so sad because it actually brought back a quality that I had only managed to find in Lovesick the series. And it's that aspect of slice of life series that brings you with every single moment the character lived through and completely immerses you in the story and the characters. So to fix it, I would just not kill anyone. Because this show is literally one main character killed after one main character killed, including my favorite character and my favorite ship. And even though the first death was impactful, it still felt icky with the bury your gays trope. But then every character starts dying one after the other, and by the time my favorite character died, I was so unfazed by it all, I just felt nothing. This series clearly wanted to be gritty. I mean, it deals with drug abuse, sexual assault, prostitution, and most, if not all of the romantic relationships are between an underage girl who's 15 or 16 and a grown-ass man. That, for example, could definitely be changed because even though this show is set in the 90s, those relationships are still not okay at the time and not to be romanticized like they are in the show. And again, I don't dislike the show. It legitimately had my heart for most of the episodes. But that is not a shock shock value factor that can be used 5 times. Also, I'd like for physically abused daughters to not forgive their abusive dads, because no, not everyone deserves a redemption storyline, especially when they've done nothing to better themselves for it. So my rewriting would be no death except maybe one, and it would have to be Louis because he was a grown-ass man dating a 15-year-old girl. He can die, he can choke, there is no problem about that. No predatory relationships, and a happy ending for everyone without being over the top happy either. I actually like the ending if it wasn't for all the death that occurred right before. You know how I've got a video on how most Thai drama sequels suck? Well, Wake Up Late is too very complicated would have definitely headlined it if I released it now. I don't know how you can take a sequel of a beloved series with very beloved characters and do literally everything wrong. For info, full spoiler, they kill Hottie Ton without an explanation in sight. Yup. Let's kill a beloved character and make his girlfriend suffer, because why not? Break up the ship that we spent literally all of season 1 rooting for literally no reason. Showing no chemistry or cute moments between them. What was the point? Make Up pansexual and have the very, very, very rare occurrence of giving us a women-loving women ship, only to break them up and have end up with a guy. As I said in my lack of Thai GL video, if there was lots of GL representation in Thai dramas, it would be totally fine. But this is literally one of maybe 10 shows that had GL representation, so it feels pretty fucked up to make it happen and then just undo it a few episodes after. Make Ryu give up on his dream entirely for Tata instead of making them work together and being a team. Having a terrible villain that gets a redemption storyline that she doesn't deserve in the slightest. And even Luke Mai's storyline, who's a new character and was the only one bringing something new to the show, was paced really weirdly and made it really hard to care about her or her love interests. Though I must admit the scene where she tries to hide all of her boyfriends to each other is hilarious. Honestly, the only characters I sorta enjoyed in this season were Jane and Saifa, who were the ones I cared the least about in the first season. So that's saying something. So if I were to rewrite the show, I wouldn't include any of it whatsoever. Getting a girlfriend would take the whole show so the relationship can be built up more and we can root for them a lot more, and the girlfriend wouldn't be so controlling. Dr. Nat and Boy would be faced with a problem they need to solve together. They would probably fight a little bit but eventually grow together. Boy would definitely not be as immature as he was in GMMTV's version, which was quite out of character when he was the one pushing for a relationship in the first season. Also more intimacy between them because they looked so uncomfortable around each other in this season. It doesn't have to be anything crazy, but like act like a couple in love, please. Ton absolutely wouldn't die, and instead the whole season would be focused on him and Kluai waiting for marriage to have sex, which would lead to a bunch of hilarious moments. Remember when this show was a comedy? And also leaving their wedding to be the closing element in the final episode. My rewriting would also be about Ryu learning to take responsibility of his wife and kids, but I don't think he should have sacrificed his career. And instead, Tata should have been the one to find her own dream too. Also, the best part of their relationship in season 1 was their parents meddling in their story and them working at their company, which should have definitely been kept in season 2 for continuity, but also simply story development. It would have been way funnier because again, this is supposed to be a comedy, and also it would have allowed Ryu and Tata to work on their own things while their parents take care of the kids. I'm gonna be honest, Luke Mai didn't need to be introduced, so I would just not include her. And finally, I would keep Jane and Saifa's story pretty much the same, as they were the only palatable thing in that shit show. So I've already talked about History Tree Make Our Days Count in my amazing ships stuck in bad dramas video, so I'll be quick. But I'd keep the main ship as is because they were really good, and just not have one of them randomly die when he's finally reached happiness. I would also just completely write off this secondary couple because not only were they creepy with one of them being underage and the other being like 10 years older, but also they didn't bring anything to the table in my opinion. I would also get rid of the randomly homophobic parents because they sucked. Another show I don't dislike at all but could have been instantly made better is Senior Secret Love Puppy Honey, especially the second season. So for me the first season is miles better, even though Peak Rome kind of suck in it, not gonna lie. So for the first season I would give Peak Rome much more chemistry and not a kiss that looks like they're standing 5 feet apart. But for the main ship I would keep them as they are because I genuinely enjoyed them. For the second season though, I would definitely not put the male lead away in another school and create a love square with 2 new people. That is just not what anyone wants to see. Again, I would have them face an obstacle as a team and show the chemistry they had in season 1 again, because I swear in season 2 when they get back together in the very last episode, it makes zero sense. Because it feels like all of season 2 was spent trying to tell the viewer that they're not meant to be together. As for Peak Rome, I did appreciate them more in season 2, but I would have wanted more chemistry, especially knowing Afghan's chemistry levels these days. And for the whole Dean being the secret villain thing, please throw it out in the trash. It should have been Peak stepping up by himself and showing his worth, and Rome choosing him point blank. So I think that tonhon chonlatee is the worst GMMTV BL, which is quite surprising as BL is the one thing GMMTV almost never gets wrong. Except for this show and Mighty where the production is kind of trash. Oh, and Waterboy, which yeah, no, Waterboy was worse than tonhon chonlatee. So imagine my surprise when I learned that the worst part of tonhon chonlatee, namely tonhon being an homophobic asshole that truly doesn't bring me any life, wasn't even in the goddamn book the show was adapted from. So yeah, I would probably remove that entirely and follow the original novel way more closely. Also, I wouldn't make Pinung an attempted fucking who's seemingly forgiven by the end of the show for no reason, because Gunsmack does not deserve any of that. It's not even the first time. Oh my god, in Kiss Me Again too, he was a fucking attempted rapist. And also just make the characters more lovable. Like, no shade, but apart from I, Nai and Miriam's relationship, which is fucking hilarious, and Nahu is our new pansexual icon, I frankly didn't really care about chonlatee nor tonhon. I just felt like the source material was already pretty weak, so making tonhon an asshole for no reason was just so fucking dumb. I honestly don't know if this show is even salvageable. As I said in my 2020 shows in review video, Mando had a lot of potential, but the story in itself took a turn that for me didn't make much sense. In my opinion, Mando and Barry having an affair behind Krisha's back was not the move to make the viewer care about them individually or the relationship. It made the both of them look like assholes, but also immediately made me less invested in them as a ship, but also as individual characters. For me, the best part of the show is Mando pining over Barry while dating his sister, which yes in itself is fucked up, but still pretty funny. I would firstly show Barry pine over Mando a lot more, because I'm gonna be honest, I just couldn't see it that much in the show. The whole other room hookup while Krisha is in the other room and Barry just broke up with his boyfriend was a flop. Let's just get rid of it entirely. What I would personally do is not have them cheat physically but emotionally throughout the whole show. Mando is with Krisha and Barry is with his boyfriend and they get closer like in the show, but here they don't do anything until their significant others pick up on it. I also want Barry's depression to be explored more because it's actually the storyline that touched me the most. And also positive mental health portrayals are so hard to come across. I feel like as a whole it would make the characters look less asshole-ish and more complex and flawed, like they should be. So this was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the rewriting of these shows. Tell me about a show you would personally want to rewrite and how you would rewrite it. I'm curious about your opinion. I'll be waiting to read your comments and have a good day.